some of the topics for the core HTA by a checklist indicating whether it is necessary or not to look at the system, because we can't look at all the dimensions for all the domains for all the drugs, of course. So that's, again, something that is on public consultation. Please have a look at the website. Then what we did already is to have a first pilot to produce a core HTA information for a drug. So it was really the first pilot. So we had to select some pharmaceuticals that could be eligible, and mostly based on exclusion criteria. And then we had to find a marketing authorization holder, a pharma company, willing to submit a dossier. And finally it was pazopanib that was chosen. And so we produced the first pilot on this drug. And then we learned some lessons, because we tried to have a lot of organizations participating in the production of the pilot. That was probably too complicated and too time-consuming. So for the next 3-year period, for the 10 pilots we'll have to produce for rapid core HTA, we will have a new procedure with 2 agencies working together, one as the author and the other as the co-author, and then a pool of reviewers, a limited number of reviewers, and then it will be disseminated to all the partners, UNETA partners. So that's something that's going to work and is going to start soon. Of course, there is a role for the marketing authorization holder. It has to be done in close cooperation with them. We will have pre-meeting. The submission file has to be provided by the company. So if companies are volunteered to submit data for a pilot, they are more than welcome. So that's the first task, and that's a challenge, because as we have only 90 days at the national level, we can start either by the data submitted by the company according to the national requirements, or to start with the help of this core HTA information produced within UNETA. But of course it has to be there very early, because at the end we still have only 90 days to produce our report. So the second point on how to improve appropriateness of data produced. We have 3 points of interest. 2 of them are at an early stage of the drug development, that's early dialogue and disease-specific guidelines. And 1 is after the initial assessment, that's for additional data collections for some technologies that have been assessed by HTA. So early dialogue, the principle is to not to draft the development plan on behalf of the pharma company or the medical devices company, but is to give them some help to help them to make the best choices for the design of the development plan of their compound, of their company. So basically they have to provide us with some basic information for products. For a drug is generally when they have the results of the phase 2 trials and they are designing the phase 3 trials. So they have to submit data on their product. They have to submit questions, a list of specific questions, and indicating the possible answers to these questions, and to try to see whether HTA bodies will be, will have some comments to make to the choices they are about to make for the development plan or not. We're not going to say to them, choose this comparator. They are going, for instance, to say, we want to choose this comparator for our trials, and that's the reason why we want to do that, and that's the reason why we have eliminated another one. And then we have a meeting with the company, and every HTA body participating in this meeting can say whether they agree or not with the proposal by the company. So that's something that has been existing for quite a long time at the level of regulators. So, but for the reason I mentioned, I think we think it is necessary to have it now at the HTA level to be sure that the data produced will make regulators happy, but also HTA bodies not unhappy, at least. And there were some experiences as well of some parallel meetings for early dialogue with at the EMA premises, with the EMA and with some HTA bodies. And now we need to develop the multi-HTA early dialogue, and that's why we have already performed 2 first pilots of this early dialogue that were done in June in last June and early July, and voluntary participation of some UNETA partners, and that's why I had to test the process before implementing it during the 3-year joint action that is starting now. So it has been coordinating by HAS, mainly by Zmira Pavlovic, and we have the support, of course, of UNETA and the DJ Sanko. So there are some practical aspects. My advice would be to contact either myself or Zmira Pavlovic if you are interested in some of these points. And now I would like to indicate that we have also the plan to try to produce some disease-specific guidelines, because the questions may be raised. Why will you see every individual company for an individual product? Why don't you issue a document for a given disease or a given condition indicating the type of data you would like to see for the purpose of HTA? And that's something we are going to try to do, to have a pilot for a guideline on a specific disease or conditions indicating what type of data are needed, what are the best endpoints, what should be the duration of the data whatsoever, what we can produce, and we will choose the disease or the conditions in next year, and that's something that also could be important in the future. So that's we do at the early stage. And then we have the assessment, and after the initial assessment, because there is some uncertainty, we may make the request for additional data collection. Currently, the situation, till some years ago, we had no communication between HTA bodies, so it was quite possible that another HTA bodies make a request for additional data collection for the same technology that we are looking at, and we are not even informed that this other HTA body is doing that. Now, with the POP database, we know what are the other HTA bodies that are assessing the same technology that we are, and we can contact them. And in addition to that, we have developed a specific database for additional data collection that is called Evident, that will enable us to share information and facilitate collaboration. We have also produced a proposal for defining the criteria to select the new technologies for which there is a need for further data collection, because you can't do that for there is always uncertainty. So you have to prioritize and to limit your request for additional data collection in the cases where it's really necessary. So these criteria, again, have been submitted to public consultation, and they are available on the UNETA website. So when we have selected what can we do together, what will we do in the next 3-year period, we will try to cooperate, not only to define, to be sure that we confirm that there is a need for additional data collection for a given technology. And then we will try to define in several HTA bodies working together to define a common research question. Not only there is a need for data collection to answer to which question, we try to define the question, and if possible, we try to define the best methodology to answer the question. That would be a sort of a common core protocol that will allow some freedom to add some local collection of data that may be necessary in different healthcare systems, but at least to define a common core protocol. And of course, again, for drugs, we'll cooperate with the EMA in this field. So basically, that's it. So the conclusions, we can collaborate at various stages, early stage, at the time of initial assessment, after product launch. And despite the fact that value appraisal is not in the mandate of UNETA, because there is that's something that is not within the responsibility of the European Commission or whatsoever. That's something that is really under the responsibility of national ministries of health and national member states. But significant actions are, however, performed, and we have ambitious aim to have a better use of resources by avoiding duplication, to reduce some differences that are not justified between our reports, and to improve the appropriateness of the data produced at various times of the development of the drug. So that's something that is quite exciting. We have achieved a lot of interesting things yet, and what we have to achieve is even more interesting in the next 3 years. So we are, I think, thrilled to participate and happy to have Croatia on board and to have Mirjana as the chair of our plenary assembly of UNETA. So I thank you very much for your attention. You have some contact information that you will find in the slides for all these type of the activities that I have shown to you. Thank you very much.
Najljepša hvala profesoru Kristensenu i doktoru Mejeru na ovim krasnim predavanjima. Mi nastavljamo sa drugim blokom gdje ćemo prikazati što smo napravili na hrvatskoj razini i vidjeti kako Ministarstvo zdravlja te Hrvatski zavod za zdravstveno osiguranje gleda na proces procjene zdravstvenih tehnologija. Prije nego što krenem sa svojim predavanjem, ja bih željela predstaviti predstavnicu Hrvatskog zavoda za zdravstveno osiguranje, gospođu Martinu Bogut, koja je diplomirana ekonomistica, koja se dodatno usavršavala iz područja računovodstva, informatike, ljudskih resursa i zdravstvene ekonomije, a trenutačno pohađa specijalističke poslijediplomske studije iz područja menadžmenta na Ekonomskom fakultetu u Zagrebu i Medicinskom fakultetu u Zagrebu. Na HZZO-u radi od 2003. godine, a od ožujka ove godine ona vodi službu za lijekove i medicinske proizvode. Ja bi se samo predstavila za one koji me ne znaju. Moje ime je Mirjana Hujić, ja sam specijalist kliničke farmakologije i toksikologije i voditelj odjela za procjenu zdravstvenih tehnologija u Agenciji za kvalitetu i akreditaciju u zdravstvu i socijalnoj skrbi. Ja bih rekla nekoliko osnovnih stvari što se tiče pravnog okvira i ujedno kroz pravni okvir govorila je o nekim barijerama i na koji način mi možemo riješiti te barijere. Kao što možete vidjeti, već 2006. godine u strategiji za razvoj hrvatskog zdravstva od 2006. do 2011. jasno je naglašena procjena zdravstvenih tehnologija, cost effectiveness analize, evidence-based medicine za racionalno donošenje odluka u zdravstvenoj politici. Temeljem te strategije 2007. godine donešen je Zakon o kvaliteti zdravstvene zaštite i tim aktom je osnovana Agencija za kvalitetu i akreditaciju u zdravstvu. Međutim, od 2007. do 2009. godine agencija je imala 2 zaposlenika na ugovor o djelu i vjerojatno, ja ne mogu govoriti razloga, ali vjerojatno zbog nedostatne potpore, dakle nije uspjela kapacitirati cijeli sustav agencije. U 2009. Zapravo vidjet ćete da smo mi započeli zapravo pune aktivnosti u ljeto 2009. godine. U 12. mjesecu 2009. godine je donesen novi pravilnik o stavljanju lijekova na osnovnu i dopunsku listu Hrvatskog zavoda za zdravstveno osiguranje i pravilnik isto tako o stavljanju ortopedskih pomagala na listu. Međutim, unutra proces procjene zdravstvenih tehnologija nije spomenut, dakle nije obvezan. U 10. mjesecu 2000. godine donesen je plan i program mjera za poboljšanje kvalitete zdravstvene zaštite i unutra također proces procjene zdravstvenih tehnologija nije stavljen kao prioritet. U 11. mjesecu 2011. godine donesen je po hitnom postupku novi Zakon o kvaliteti zdravstvene zaštite i socijalne skrbi i unutra također nije proces procjene zdravstvenih tehnologija stavljen kao nekakva obveza, nisu definirani osnovni korisnici, ali je spomenuto da je potrebno donijeti pravilnik o procesu procjene zdravstvenih tehnologija. 2012. godine, to je zapravo prošlo saborsku proceduru, donesena je Hrvatska nacionalna strategija zdravstva od 2012. godine do 2020. godine i po prvi puta zapravo je HTA stavljen kao jedna od mjera prioriteta u nacionalnoj strategiji. Vi ovdje možete vidjeti, osim nedostatnog zakonskog okvira, mi smo imali problema i sa zapravo budžetom i sa problemom educiranog i zapravo broja zaposlenika u našem odjelu. Ja sam ovdje stavila zemlje koje imaju razvijen proces procjene zdravstvenih tehnologija, institucije koje se bave HTA, kao Finska, Latvija, Danska, Norveška, koje su vrlo slične po broju stanovnika. Kao Hrvatska možete vidjeti koliko je njihov godišnji fond, budžet, znači, i to isključivo samo za HTA.